Hello, hello, hello. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Hey, look nuts. Come on in, come on in, come on in. I'll give you a minute to get your scribbles together. Come on in. Uh-oh. My connection is shy. Vance. I have some back connection. Acknowledge you for joining me. And welcome you. Or red, but my connection is. Okay, I'm y'all been watching Blue Flood drought, but this is all just internet shot. So, I found I'm over platforms. So, professional services. We provide bookkeeping, accounting, taxes. I keep having trouble connecting. Yeah, I know. It's like, okay. I'm gonna trying. I promise I'm gonna keep trying because I have some information. Yeah. So um I'm trying to see if I could catch myself. So I can see when I go blank. Because I don't know what well, TLJ financial bring me your 35 years. Because you with me say can I on this Get out of California weather. We here anyway. Okay. What is going on? Like, can this join me in 2 minutes? Okay, how interesting. It's breaking up bad. Yeah. Hey, Javon. Thank you for that. Um, I have to move locations because this is crazy. I was using my Wi-Fi and it was real bad. So we're having some major storms here in California, and our the internet connection is horrible. So keep us in prayer. So hopefully this is better. Excuse my background, because if I put my filter on, then you won't be able to see me at all. So this is my home office. So my upstairs studio won't allow me to do the Wi-Fi. So, but happy Tax Tip Tuesday. I am Tracy L. Tate. I am the CEO of TLJ Professional Services, where we are about all things financial. I bring you over 35 years experience in bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, as well as other business services like coaching and mentoring. Um, we do an array of things in the financial realm. So today I want to talk about on this Tax Tip Tuesday, the different tax form and what you can expect and what you should do as best practice. Okay. So the IRS is not opening e-filing until the 16th, which I believe is Monday. Yes. So Martin Luther King, we as tax preparers will be able to start e-filing. You don't have to wait till the 16th to give your paperwork to your tax preparer. Okay. So go ahead and gather your documents. One thing that I suggest, because especially if you have investments, you will not have your tax paperwork. You will not have all of your paperwork together, especially if you're a shareholder. So do not file your taxes until you got all your paperwork. Okay. Doesn't make sense to, because you will need to amend, or they will amend your return for you, both IRS, which is federal, as well as your state. They will amend your return once they get all the documents from everybody as well. So legally, businesses have until January 31st to get you your documents. That's your W-2s, your 1099s. Any other, most of them are 1099s, 1098s, right? All of those forms. So let me tell you that a lot of things have changed from the free things that you were getting during the pandemic. I talked about that last week, Tax Tuesday, that there have been some changes in the tax laws to now kind of take away some of those additional benefits that they were offering during COVID. Okay, so be mindful of that. But the forms that you need to look for and wait for are definitely your W-2s. Some people like to use their last pay stub. I do not recommend that. That is an alternative, but as a tax preparer, we're not even supposed to use your last pay stub. We're supposed to create an alternative W-2, right, based on your pay stub. Okay. So I do not recommend using your last pay stub, because it may or may not reflect changes in your wages, contributions, deductions, child care stuff that's through your employer, all these things, HSA, FSA, until 12/31. And because of holidays and stuff like that, some things may or may not post on the last day of the month. It may not post to the next year. So be mindful of that. Don't just go with, oh, I have my last pay stub, my W-2, or my pay stub, brother. I'm going to use that as my W-2. I do not recommend that. Patience is a virtue. So I do recommend being patient and waiting for your tax forms. Again, all entities have until January 31st to get you your tax forms. Okay. That means that's when they can mail them. A lot of entities now offer online services. Take advantage of that. You know, we are in the world of technology now. So take advantage of having online accounts so that you can have access to your documents at your convenience, not just when they mail them and you sitting around waiting for the mail, right? Because you may be waiting. You know, the U.S. Postal Service still have mail issues because of the holidays. They're behind, staffing changes, all those things. So if you create your online account, you are able to download your forms yourself, okay? But be mindful not to duplicate your forms, okay? So most places will not mail out your W-2s, your 1099s until January 31st. And you need to wait for those forms, 1098 forms as well. So your mortgage company, they too, a lot of them put your forms online. So if you have an online account, you can simply go to your profile and download them, okay? But you should look for forms like your W-2 or any kind of income form. So it could be from Social Security, retirement, which is a 1099-R. If you, Airbnb, right, they're sending out those 1099-Ks from places like Cash App and PayPal, Venmo, all of those what do they call them? Alternative payment methods, right? They are responsible for reporting to the IRS, and they do. Okay. So you need to wait for those forms. If you have your own business, especially if you are not a corporation. Okay. If you are an LLC or C Corp, but you chose or elect to be taxed as an S Corp, because it is an election, it's a tax election, then you don't have to worry about the 1099s. You're not waiting for the reporting of someone to send you what they paid you. You should be keeping a track of those records yourself and your accounting software. Okay. So your income type forms, that could be interest income. Okay. It could be dividend income. It could be retirement income. It could be social security income. It could be if you have a management company because you have a rental property, right? You want to wait for the forms for them. So you want to wait for your revenue documents, okay? But then you also want to wait for your documents that can give you a credit or directly impacts your credit, like your mortgage statement. If you have a real estate property, or you Airbnb, right? That's considered a rental still, only if you own the home. So there's a lot of people that's renting Airbnb units and then sub-renting them out to Airbnb. That is not a Schedule E, by the way. It's only a Schedule E if you own the home, okay? And you capture the mortgage, the interest, property taxes, all that good stuff. If you rent a place and then you sub-rent it out, you have a Schedule C. You are now a business owner if you did not know that. Okay, those are revenue type forms. Okay, but then you also may have deductions, other revenue forms, K1s. Okay, so especially with a K1, whether you're an S corp and get a K1 or you're a shareholder in other places, like stock accounts. So I invest in stocks. So there's a lot of people investing in crypto and stuff like that. If you invest in stocks, you will get a K1 if you have ownership shares. Otherwise, you will have a 1099. But in any case, those forms normally do not come out till about March. So corporate tax returns are not due until March 15th. If you have any ownership in a company, you will not get your K1 till closer to March, if not later, if they file an extension. So you cannot file your tax return until you get all your docs. I'm one of those people because I do have investments in several entities and several commodities. There's no way I could file my tax return in January or February because I have to wait for my K1s, my shareholder statements, for my investments that I have. So be mindful of that. Don't be too quick to go and get your taxes done and they're incomplete. Okay. So wait for all your tax documents. So what I suggest is that you get a folder. It could be an envelope, right? A bigger size envelope that most tax documents, they say it right on the outside of the envelope, but you should be opening your mail anyway. Just a tax document, open the folder. So this is what I do. I have a tax folder that I started already putting documents in because I know I'm gonna be waiting. And I know I got a gang of forms that I'm waiting for. Okay. So I put my forms in that folder so that when it's time for me to start preparing my own taxes, I have them. But again, I can't prepare my taxes into my corporate business, TLJ Professional Services, do their tax return, give me my K1 from the business, right? I have W-2 because I am S Corp. S Corp require you to be to receive payroll in your company. So I have my W-2. However, I still have to wait for my K1, which cannot be provided until the corporate return is done. So be mindful of the type of forms that you can receive to file your taxes. Okay. Now, I've been seeing commercials for TurboTax, and I've been doing these Tax Tip Tuesdays for many years now, and especially around tax time. And every year I hear a different something with TurboTax, and they piss me off almost every year too. Well, now they're saying you don't even have to do your return. You can have somebody else do them for you. Okay. That's great. Fine. Dandy. Right. But let's be clear. When you are, especially if you have a lot of activity in your taxes. Like I said, I have a whole folder waiting for my various tax documents. If you have a lot of activities, investments, rental properties, all these different things, employers, even if you have multiple employers, going to places like H&R Block, TurboTax, you're not going to get the same preparer from year to year. The value of having the same tax preparer from year to year is multiple facets. Is they learn who you are, about you and your family, and that your needs and the different things that may have happened to you during the tax year. That sometimes during tax time, you don't even remember it happened because it might have happened in January or February, right? You might have just forgot. But as a tax preparer, that relationship that we build with our clients, we know if they had a baby, right? So we're waiting for those documents to show that. We know if they switched jobs. So we know to expect a second W-2 or a different W-2 than what we're used to seeing, right? You kind of learn that relationship, or in that relationship, you learn the different things that's going on in their business. Therefore, in their life, right? That can impact their taxes. So having that relationship is vital, right? Everything is not relying on you to be the one to know everything. Thank you, Facebook user. To know everything that you have going on, right? Your tax preparer, because of that relationship, will also know what's going on with you. And having that relationship that you go to them every year, they know what happened last year. So they're looking for certain documents again this year, unless they've learned that, oh, you sold that house, right? So now I'm looking for the sale documents, okay? Because that could be a capital gain on your taxes, depending on how you use your property, or the capital gains can be less taxed if up to $250,000, right, of your primary home is not taxable if you sell your house. So it's things like that, that having that relationship with a tax preparer will benefit you in your tax return year after year after year. Whereas going to places like H&R Block, the turnover game is ridiculous. TurboTax, you're not going to get the same people each time. So consider this. You call places and you call customer service. You don't never get the same customer service rep, and what you hear from this customer service rep may be different from this one over here. That's exactly how your taxes going to be too, right? So think about the relationship you build with your tax preparer. They hold the key to saving you money, right, and taxes. So one thing, and I was talking to a client earlier, and I was telling her the same thing. I don't mind paying taxes because that's how our government operates, right? It operates from us paying our taxes. The police department, the fire department, the county hospitals, charities in some cases, all of these things run based on your tax money. That's why you get penalized if you don't prepay taxes. So prepaying taxes is the money that they keep out of your paycheck every paycheck, right? Or if you're in business, you have to pay quarterly taxes. And in some cases, you might have to pay monthly taxes. It depends on the volume of revenues that you have. But the purpose of you prepaying taxes is to help fund the government so that the world goes around, right? It's not so much to fund they big pockets and all that. They get a set salary. I think the president only get $400,000 a year. It sounds like a lot of money, but it really ain't. It depends on their lifestyle, right? So it's not that you're funding them, you're funding the rest of the world to go around, right? So I don't mind paying taxes, but I'm not trying to pay my taxes, your taxes, their taxes, right? I want to pay my fair share of taxes. So I want to optimize on my taxes so I don't pay more than I have to. I don't want to pay more than I have to. So it's one of those cases of it's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? So just be mindful with this tax time, what tax forms you need to look for, and your prior year return tells a story, right? So me as a professional tax preparer, and have been for over 35 years, I can look at your tax return from a prior year and tell you if you're missing something. And I definitely could tell from last year's return what I'm missing in this year's return, right? So we offer a free look. If we don't do any work, we don't charge you. If we need to amend the return, then we'll charge you. And if the amendment is not going to yield you more than what you got to pay me, we're not going to amend. That's how we do business. That's our morals, values, and culture. That's just who we are. But as a professional, there's certain things that we look for, that I look for in preparing your taxes. And there's whether it's me, because I finally got out my own way and brought on some help. I have team now, yay. So I'm excited about that because it'll allow me to continue to grow and then do what I like to do best, which is educate. Okay. I like doing this, telling you what I know, teaching you what I know, whether it's from experience, what I read, what I learned, because I am sitting for my CPA again. I am reading these books and I'm like, why do I want to do this? But in any case, I'm going to do it. And then, so let me tell you again who I am. I am Tracy L. Tate. I am the CEO of TLJ Professional Services, where we are about all things financial. And happy Tax Tip Tuesday. Tax forms. We're talking about these tax forms. So from a revenue standpoint, you can have a W-2, you can have 1099 income from your bank account, interest, right? It could be a 1099 dividend. It could be a 1099 miscellaneous or NEC. So remember, a couple of years ago, they changed the 1099s from 1099 miscellaneous to there's two types, where it's NEC if you are like a contractor, right? But the miscellaneous form, you still report if you pay rent to somebody. And then some other investments, like if you paid an attorney or if you paid medical and stuff like that, that's more for the business to report what they pay out so that the IRS knows who got money and how much they got. That's their way of tracking and cross-checking people reporting their income. Okay, some other income documents. If you have rental property, if you have a property manager, you will get a document from that property manager of the rents they collected, of expenses they paid out to manage your property, their fees, right? All of those things. So you want to wait for your documents, especially your income documents, because that's more than, that's most of what the IRS or even your state looks for, is that you're reporting all of your revenue, okay? Now, some of the credits that you'll have could be child tax credit. I don't think they did the advanced child tax credit this past year. I know they let go of where they were giving $300 a month. I know they just had the middle class tax credit, right, where some people got money with that. That too may be taxable income. I'm sure it is taxable income from a federal standpoint, because if I'm not mistaken, those are from state. So you get a state benefit from this, not a federal benefit, okay? But you want to capture as many credits as you can. So if you have an HSA, for example, you should get two types of forms for HSA. Your HSA form is going to be one for distributions and one for contributions. They are two separate form numbers. Way too many tax forms for me to just know all these numbers by heart. So I can't tell you what those two form numbers are. But there is a HSA contribution form and there's an HSA distribution form. Those go on your tax return, okay? Do not eliminate those, because if you have to say that, yes, you use those funds that you took out of your HSA for medical, otherwise it's considered taxable income. So remember, HSA income is pre-tax, right? Is pre-tax income, where as long as you used the money appropriately for medical expenses, or like if you did FSA and it was toward childcare expenses or for transportation to and from work, those are not taxable, or they were not taxing your income. Therefore, as long as you use them for what you were supposed to use them for, they will not be taxable income to you. But if you do not, it becomes taxable income. Okay. So those are some other forms that you have to be mindful of. And even if you thought, oh, well, they ain't gonna know, I didn't do nothing with my HSA, it's on your W-2, because HSA is something that, and FSA, it has to be directly from an employer. So it's on your W-2, and this box 14 is one of those letters that tell us and tell the IRS and the state that you have HSA and that you had a contribution to HSA. Even if you don't contribute and your employer contribute 100%, that's part of your income if you do not use it for what it's meant to be used for, okay? This live is seeming extremely long because half of it took me 15 minutes to get the stable Wi-Fi And so I had to hard code and come downstairs to my computer versus my studio because the Wi-Fi, California, we in some storms out here. Our weather is jacked up, and our Wi-Fi is too. So just FYI, the importance of having a tax preparer is because they know some stuff that you don't, right? So I do continuing education every year on purpose so that I can know what tax laws are changing. And tax laws change all the way through tax season. Okay. They can change in the midst of tax season. You saw that happen a couple of years ago where um, during the pandemic, unemployment is taxable income, but then they decided to give you 10,200 as non-tax income, right? They came out with that after the tax season started. So for some people who had already rushed and filed their taxes, they paid tax on $10,000 worth of income that was not taxable income, right? Then they have to amend the return and wait for the adjustment and all that stuff. Because my son was one of them. He'd be on it. He'd be ready for his little refunds, and he was one of them that with that unemployment, he had filed them too fast. So when they came out with the adjustment, he had already filed. So we had to amend, and then he had to wait for his refund because that's a whole different department and all that other stuff. So just be mindful of that an amendment of a tax return is a different department than just submitting your tax return. So the processes are different. It's a process that takes much longer because when you amend a return, it's saying, I filed this, but now it should be this. So I have to look at what you filed compared to what you're saying you filed. It's a whole process and an amended return. Okay, so it's best to wait for all of your tax documents. Again, I showed you mine. Keep a folder because I know I got a gang of tax forms coming. Especially as shareholder of companies, I have to wait for those companies to file their taxes before I even get my K1. My own, I can file my own and get my K1, but I have investments in other companies that I have to wait for them to file their taxes to get my K1. Okay. You could have capital gains. If you do investment in stocks, if you do investments in crypto, you have to wait for those tax docs. I mentioned earlier in this live about the 1099K. So this is where, and I know you guys have heard this, that if you collect money through like Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, right? All of these types of money collection or money movement sources, they have to report that income because that was a loophole that the IRS is like, oh no, that's a lot of money going through those entities. We need to see what they for. Are people claiming that money, right? So it's like when the online sales boom kicked in, they didn't know what to do. There was no laws in place. So a lot of online sales were not taxable. They got hold of that real quick because it's a lot of money going through these transactions, right? So just be mindful of that. Haste makes waste, right? So just be patient, get your forms. Again, employers, businesses, companies have until January 31st to postmark your documents. So literally they can put them in the mail on January 31st. So wait for your tax documents. I mentioned earlier about using your last pay stub as your W-2. That is not your W-2. Be patient. Wait for your W-2 or online. That's what I mentioned earlier as well. Most entities, including your employer, have online access now. So you can get your W-2 directly from your employer. You get your W-2 or your 1099s from your bank, from your mortgage company, from your investment entities. Same way you log in to do transactions, you can log in to get your tax documents, okay? And you want to get your tax documents. It's not just your statement, okay? It's your tax form, not just your statement, because your statement does not give the whole picture the way the tax forms do, okay? So this is Tracy Tate. I am the CEO of TLJ Professional Services. We bring over 35 years. I'm about to be able to say 40 in a minute. 2 more years, it'll be over 40 years, okay? In business and accounting and taxes. And we would love to do your taxes. So if you don't have that relationship with a tax preparer and you've been doing the H&R Block or the TurboTax and you're ready to have that relationship, like I talked about the value of a relationship with a tax preparer, versus customer service reps, because that's exactly what they are, because you may not get the same one from year to year. Okay. So they're customer service reps. You miss some of the benefit of your taxes, like the knowing what you've done historically that should be done now. They can help you remember and recall things that may have happened during the year, because the relationship with you, they may remember when you sold that house or when you quit that job. That'll let them know that you have more than one W-2. Things like that. That's that personalization. That's that relationship that is very valuable between a client and their tax preparer. Is priceless. Okay. You might think, oh, I only got a W-2. That might be now, but what's your goals? What's your big picture? Wouldn't you want somebody to help you through that process along the way, right? To know and can advise you how best or how it will impact your taxes. So think about that. We do accept tax clients all year long. I am going to see if I can quickly, Calendly, so that Calendly.com. I cleared my caches. I think it's called cache or caches. And now I have none of my quick links like I normally have. I hate I did that, but thank you, Miss Felicia. Hey, Miss Karen, where you been, lady? I hope you are well. Happy New Year. We need to talk. Thank you for joining me on this live, but I want to post my link to the tax prep so that if you are new for us, then you can get on our calendar and start that relationship. If you are a returning client, then just know we are using our tax portal, Tax Dome. You will be getting the invitation to upload your docs there again. If you signed a contract from any prior years, you do not have to sign another one. It would only be if you have not signed one before. And the contract is a simple contract. It's the agreement saying that we are preparing your taxes and we're going to do our best to get you the best tax optimization that we can legally. Okay, so I posted it in the chat so that you can book a free consultation. It costs you nothing, it's free. And if you choose to move forward, we only charge if we do something for you. Again, we do a free look as well. And it's only if we actually amend the return and it's worth the amendment of a return that we would charge you for our fees, our services. So I look forward to speaking with you and meeting with you. You could, if you're just joining this live, put hashtag replay if you're getting this on the replay. I can tell you, you could skip all the way to at least the minute 10 because I was having some major Wi-Fi issues in my studio upstairs. So with these California storms, my Wi-Fi was jacked up. I had to come down to my actual computer to get this live going. So this is a very long live, but you could bypass like the first 10 minutes, 12 minutes of the presentation, and you won't miss a thing because I had it froze up so bad. I am Miss Evangelist Nicola. I am located in California, but we cover the entire United States. Okay. And we welcome you with open arms, as we always do. So I hope you have a blessed rest of the week. I hope you enjoyed this information. If you're not sure, I always tell my clients, I'd rather you give me something than for you to assume that you can't and you can, right? I'll tell you if you can't. I'd rather you give me too much than not enough. Let me tell you what you can't do. Don't assume what you cannot do. Thank you very much, Ms. Shakoya. And I hope to see you on my calendar. Yes, let's talk, Miss Evangelist. So, again, I am Tracy L. Tate. I am the CEO of TLJ Professional Services. We are about all things financial, providing bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, business coaching. Miss Lady, I need you to click the link and schedule your time, please. I will write this number down, but please get on the calendar. And it ain't my fault if somebody strange call you, Miss Lady. Get your number off of there. click on the link that's in the chat. You should be able to scroll up and you can schedule your free consultation. It is free. Okay. So until we meet and speak again, I'll see you next week, Tax Tip Tuesday. Next week, what am I going to cover? Your books. If you're in business, your books need to be right before you go handing them to a tax preparer. Okay. We make sure that your books are right too. So until then, you have a blessed week. It's been my honor and my pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Many blessings.